everyone, welcome to Reading with Even. Let's get on with the bookish video. I'm sorry for the atrocious lighting situation that's happening. I got a light, like the room light, the ring light. I have the windows, the blinds open, but it's such a gloomy, dark day here in the UK that it's pointless. We are gonna suffer in the darkness. I did the best I could. Oh well, but today we are going to be talking about and ranking the 11 short stories from the newest short story collection by Eliza Cark, She's Always Hungry. This book was in my top 20 of the year. I read like 120 something books, so that is a high compliment. This is her first short story collection and her newest work. She has 3 books in total, including this one. And this received really mixed reviews. There's been lots of reactions. Easily her most polarizing work, I think. I personally absolutely loved it. I thought it was great. And I already sort of summarized my overall views in my November wrap-up. Yeah, that's the month I read this book. Well, November-December wrap-up because I joined them too. But yeah, you will see my overall thoughts here. But what we're going to do in this video, I will rank from 11 to 1 my favorite story, all of the short stories in this collection, and I will tell you why without spoiling anything, which will be a bit hard because some of the stories are like 10 pages long. So if I'm being a bit vague in story details, that's why, but it will make sense once I start. So let's begin. So number 11 is The King, and it's a story about these kind of godlike creatures that compete with each other for kicks, essentially, and humans are sort of caught in the middle of it. It's still a really well-written story. Something that you should know is that I still gave the story a 4 stars, so you're not gonna get the case of, most of these stories sucked. I only like, it wouldn't be one of my favorite top 20 books of the year if it was like that. All of the stories are 4 stars and above, so that's why it's actually so difficult, because it's like trying to pick the best of the best, and it feels like I'm just splitting hairs at this point, But either way, so The King, like I said, it is like this sort of like morbid but funny in like a really satirical way story that just really focuses on how humans can react to like horrible things happening around them, how they just don't really care, sort of thing. It's kind of hard to say, and also because it was my least favorite, I don't remember it that much, but yeah, the writing was still impeccable, everything just, it was good, but for me, I thought that the concept, it's not something that I particularly care to read that much, and I thought that, if anything, it would probably work as like a more lengthy story. So if anything, I thought that it being a short story did it a disservice, because I didn't even get the chance to get fully stuck in and, maybe have my beliefs tested, like, oh, maybe this is for me, like this sort of story. Does that make any sense? So yeah, it was my least favorite. Chris from Reading with Meg's Discord, he said that it was like his second favorite, I think, because he didn't have a good time with this book. I think he liked 3 stories out of the 11 and gave like the rest of them like 0 1 stars or something. So yeah, that's where our opinions differed a lot, because yeah, it is what it is. Opinions, it's fun to discuss things, obviously. So yeah, this is my least favorite. Number 10 would be Extinction Event. So this is kind of like a post-apocalyptic dystopian sci-fi story in the collection, and it focuses on this cataclysmic event that's gonna end all of humanity, and basically like it talks a lot about climate change and like new species that might be more adaptable. By the way, just to let you know, I am like sort of like quickly having a look to refresh myself on the short stories themselves, because I did read this like nearly 3 months ago, so I'm, it's something's bound to slip out even if I loved it like out of my memory. But I just thought for me this one was very like, Sci-fi is easily my least favorite genre. I barely read it. I'm actually looking forward to seeing if that changes in the future. Maybe I'll find something that will, change my opinion like that. But for now, it is my least favorite genre. I just enjoy something a bit more like towards paranormal, but maybe with like a bit of magical things, supernatural sort of thing. But like science and whatnot in horror, it has to be something really captivating for me to want to read it or remind me of something like Dead Silence. I know it's a sci-fi horror, but people advertised it as like The Shining meets the Titanic in space, and I'll sign me up. Those are some of my favorite things, but anyway, I digress there. I just think that this one, it was a bit clunky in the writing, and it focused so much on the sci-fi things that it didn't do it for me massively, but I did enjoy some of the like bodily sort of horror descriptions, not even bodily because it wasn't like humans, but like all sorts of just like disgusting descriptions of things. Like I actually really enjoyed that. That's why it's a bit up from The Man. Like I liked it a bit. Then I think that the ninth place has to go to Hollow Bones, which is kind of in the same vein with the sci-fi thing. We have this character who was found on a space mission. All of her like colleagues on that mission were dead. She was the only one alive, and she's healing but having these like really weird dreams, sort of like a feverish experience. And then we have a bit of like parasite horror there as well. So it's essentially like in sort of infection, parasite, sci-fi type of horror. Think like, alien sort of thing. And I really enjoyed the imagery. I think that it was quite creepy and quite sort of like disorienting and disturbing. Just once again, I just feel like when it comes to the plot itself, the plot was a little bit unclear. And I think that was intentional, but I just felt like it was a bit too, like it needed a bit of tightening up. And then I just thought, again, like the sci-fi thing, it's not, like I said, it's not something that I gravitate towards. So I'm surprised I'm ranking these stories as highly like 4 stars and above, as I did already. So yeah, I still had a great time with it, and I preferred it a little more than the other one. That's why it's up by a slot, because I just found imagery in this one and that disorientating feeling to be a bit creepier. Then we have The Problem Solver at spot 8. Yeah, and this one, it focuses, like, it's a really short one. I think it's actually like the shortest one. Let me check. Yeah, I think it's only like 8 pages, so I do think this is the shortest one in the collection. And this one is essentially about a woman who says that she has been sexually assaulted by someone, and her guy friend takes matters into his own hands, like with her there. Like he attacks this guy at like a bar, a pub, wherever, and that is pretty much it. And I can't really tell you why I put it up, on top, not on top, but like above the other 3. I can't tell you that without telling you like what I thought and how I interpreted the ending, because again, the story is literally 8 pages. There's not much room for avoiding spoilers here. I will just say that I put it above because it deals with like a very human thing, like human aggression, human violence, and horrible things that humans do. Like it felt very boy parts penance, Eliza, and I enjoyed that a lot. Obviously, like all of my reads from her were 5 stars. So yeah, basically I liked that it was centered in reality, but I still had like a little bit of I do think that to dig for any like positive meaning in the story and any artistic genius, you have to like sort of dig. And I just thought that from someone who wrote boy parts, that she could have done a little, like, she could have done this sort of topic a little punchier, like a little more. Like, she could have pushed herself a bit. So that's why it's in the spot that it is. And at spot 7, I have Night Stalkers, and it's about these 2 guys. One of them has these closeted gay feelings towards the other one. It's in the 70s as well, and they just spend their days getting high and doing stupid things, breaking into people's homes and all that. This one just felt like nothing really was happening. Even when stuff was happening, nothing was happening. It felt like, I think out of all the stories in this collection, it felt like the most litfic, in the sense that it's just vibes. But like I really enjoyed that 70s vibe of like just this carelessness. Like I think there was like a beach involved, and just people getting high and all that. I mean, I've not done those sort of things myself in that scenario, but I can imagine, like, just from the writing. And the whole like closeted gay thing, it's something I can't relate to because I'm a straight woman, but I thought that it was portrayed, maybe it didn't offer anything new to the genre or to the trope and whatnot, but I thought that it was written well. And I found it quite tragic, quite sad, but also kind of like apathetic in a way that it was, the characters were portrayed reacting to things happening around them. So yeah, it wasn't like anything, wow, this is like the best trope, like, expression I've ever read, but I still really enjoyed it. Then I have The Company Man at however, just number 6 is this story. And it's really like hard for me to pinpoint, I'm just trying to explain it without spoiling it, but it is basically just like a story of guilt, of loneliness, of actions having consequences. Like I can't really spoil anything. Henceforth, what am I, academic? So yeah, I can't really say what happens because like a lot of it is tied to what the plot is, but I just found it like really human and really sort of like unsettling and really creepy in a way that felt realistic. And I do think I need to give the story a reread to fully be able to appreciate and discuss it, because at the moment, even though I remember really enjoying it, I also remember it the least. Maybe because it was the last one and I was feeling like, okay, I'm done. I'm ready to move on to the next book. Because sometimes even if I love a book, I feel like if I take a bit too long, I kind of want to just move on to the next one. And I need to learn how to not rush through a book. That's my flaw, but we'll get to that. We'll work on it. So yeah, it's at number 6. Then at number 5, we have the title story, She's Always Hungry. And this is about this small fishing town where women are ruling and the men are just sort of there. So very like matriarchal, kind of like The Handmaid's Tale, but like this gave me like The Handmaid's Tale / The Wicked Deep vibes. I don't think it's a super well-known book, but the whole like fishing town atmosphere reminded me of that. So yeah, it's like reversed because the men are the oppressed ones. And I really enjoyed the vibes. Like it was sort of like almost a bit Lovecraftian, but not enough for me to like be like, this is too weird for me. I don't understand what the fuck is going on. So this is like very, I swear I can't find the right words today. My brain is like, what am I doing? But I wanted to film some videos before I left for holidays to have them ready. So forgive me, but it's like very nature descriptions, like water descriptions. It's really creepy, almost like fairy tale-esque, folk tale vibes going on. It's very, like, I was a fan. I really enjoyed it. I mean, the reason that it's not in, like, top 3, I liked the other stories more, but also I thought that it could have just been a little shorter, like, by, like, 5 pages maybe. I didn't think it needed to be quite that long, but apart from that, it was pretty awesome. And I have, at number 4, I have Build a Body Like Mine, which is the first story, and it's essentially about this, like, the narrator is talking to you, addressing you about this beauty product that will fix all of your problems. And it's pretty obvious that it's not quite like that. It doesn't work that way. So it's reminds me of The Substance, which actually there's another story in this book that reminds me of that. And just like of a lot of sort of like beauty horror, of societal horror, of expectations, of like eating disorders and whatnot. I found it like really like really creepy in a very real way, because how many people do you know who struggle with their body image, and people who would be willing to do things to themselves to meet some criteria that doesn't exist. So yeah, I definitely really enjoyed that one. I have Goth Girlfriend, which is basically about this guy who is obsessed with his coworker. And they work at this bar together, and it just sort of escalates because he's like following her around, and she's not like well liked by the coworkers, so it's a bit weird as well. But he does that because he wants his kink to be met. And I think that out of like all the stories in this book, this is definitely like the most boy parts cunty out of all of them, because it's literally just this guy who wants to be stepped on, basically, more or less degraded. And I mean, I'm all down for that. I would love to do that myself if anyone's hiring. But yeah, it was a fun one, and it was like a bit of a nice reprieve from all the sci-fi stories in like on either end of that. Then we have at number 2, The Shadow over Little Chitaly, and it's about this food place that is just really weird. Like, it delivers the wrong items that shouldn't even be on the menu. It delivers to people who live 100 miles away, that sort of thing. Like, it was just really weird in the best way, because there were like a lot of food descriptions. So like, if you're very sensitive about food descriptions, maybe don't pick this one up. But it's basically like a lot of weirdness and sinister sort of like what is going on, and you don't get a clear explanation, but in a way what you imagine is happening is probably creepier than anything that the author could come up with. So it was just such good fun, because it was the right amount of like, what am I reading without losing me, you know what I mean? So I think definitely a fun experiment. I don't think this is the sort of story that would work as a longer novel. So the length that it was pretty perfect, but the mixed media and all that, I personally really enjoyed it. And the last story, my top favorite by a mile, and that says something since I said all of these were like 4 stars and above, and that is Shake Well, which is about this teenage girl who suffers from bad acne, and she finds this product on black market that is meant to just make her face perfect. This is another story that reminded me of The Substance, but this one even more so, because the other one, it was more just like the general messages that The Substance used, but this is like very similar. I'm not saying anyone copied anything. I mean, come on, like it's a concept, but it's quite reminiscent of the whole like beauty standards and looking for perfection, and just this girl who is, by the way, dating this creep in his 20s, and that's also like a bit of like an ick aspect in this book. Well, short story. And you have her then use this product. It was very, like, it was the perfect approach of the less is more, because there's not like much disgust or gore or anything, but it was effective, and it was really, it shook me, pun intended, in the best way. Like, I had a really good time with this story, and honestly, I would gladly eat up, I don't know, like an entire like 400-page short story collection with stories like that. I think that would be pretty cool. So that is it. All 11 stories from She's Always Hungry, ranked from my least to most favorite. I hope that this all made sense. It's really hard to talk about short stories in detail because, I mean, they're short and it's easy to spoil if you ramble on. But yeah, would I recommend this, knowing how polarizing it was to some people? Yes, I would say go in expecting that this is not gonna be boy parts or penance, apart from like maybe 2-3 stories. A lot of it is something new that the author is trying, and if you hate sci-fi, then maybe steer clear, because a lot of it is some kind of like speculative, which I know I shouldn't have read this, but I think her writing kind of saved it for me, and yeah, I really look forward to seeing what she does next, because it should be fun. Like, I have full faith that she'll give me more 5 stars in the future. So yeah, if you liked this video, If you read this, let me know what you thought about the stories, how you ranked them yourself. Maybe if you didn't rank them, just like your favorites or least favorites. And I hope to see you next time.